All right, a quick refresh as to where we're at. 17,529. It's a lot more further within the small cap index. Names like Divi's, Asian Paints, Eicher Motors, Nestle, L&T, they're on the back foot. You've got ONGC, IndusInd Bank, though, that's showing you a bit of traction in trade. And in the terms of the broader universe, check in on names like GE Power, Greaves Cotton, Affle India. They're all abuzz in today's trading session. But let's also take stock as to what's going on within the IT space, as it seems like the variable pay wars are fanning attrition fears. To talk about that in greater detail, we've got Ramani Dathi, who is the Chief Financial Officer at TeamLease Services, as well as Sapnesh Lalla, who is CEO and Executive Director at NIIT. Thank you so much for joining in. Ramani, I'm going to begin with you. In terms of just the latest news flow as to how we should read into it, there's been a delay in variable payouts for a lot of these IT companies. Would it be, too early to say that it's the end of employee bargaining power with companies, taking back the negotiating power really? Or do you think that this will lead to a fresh wave of greater resignations?
Yes. So over the last 2 years, we have seen the highest negotiation power with the employees in IT industry, and also in terms of the annual hikes, which typically used to be in the range of 7 to 8% per annum. Last 2 years, we have seen that number rising almost to 12 to 15%. And we have started seeing the trend of those hike numbers kind of tapering down last quarter itself. And now with the news around some sort of hiring freeze and also this variable pay delays is kind of indicating that the numbers on the hikes and higher negotiation power with the employees is kind of settling down in IT. So we are seeing that across IT services, products, and captive companies as well.
Okay, let me understand your perspective as well, Sapnesh, in terms of what you believe this is really, this trend is, should we read it as, the bargaining power now, coming to an end, or do you believe that, we will see a fresh wave of great resignations?
It's hard to tell. We are probably at the front end of what could be a tough cycle, given the uncertainty in the market, and that tough cycle might result into it becoming harder for organizations to pay their employees higher and higher salaries. But that's on one side. On the other side, the labor market continues to be very tight. So it's hard to tell where it's going to go, though I do feel that it's going to become harder for organizations to pay higher and higher salaries to their employees, given the uncertainty in the demand side.
If I look at the pyramid of manpower distribution in an IT company, and if I look at what the pay grades were, let's say at the entry level, frankly, the entry level pay scales have not gone up at all, including high inflation, Sapnesh, in last 4 to 5 years. Do you think somewhere that is the factor which we need to address? Because till the time the bottom of the pyramid entry level salary structures are not adjusted, we will keep on witnessing these change in variable pays, high attrition numbers, because that's where the attrition is.
I think there could be 2 points of view on it. One point of view is, like you pointed out, that over the last several years, the entry level pays have not changed. The second, or a contra point of view that I have seen specifically at NIIT, not as an employer, but as a large training organization that services a very large number of GSIs and GCCs in India, as well as individuals. What I've seen is that almost 70 or 80% of the fresh hires that an organization takes in as intake, they need up to 7 or 8 months of training before they can become deployable on a project, on a billable project, or they can do real productive work. And so it requires a lot of investment for an organization to get a person to become deployable. And if they start somebody off at a very high salary, it's hard for them to justify that investment. What I have seen, however, is when a person, either by way of their own work or by way of supplemental education, if they improve their skills and join an organization even as a fresher, but with skills that are readily deployable, they are able to command significantly higher salaries. We've seen that with our graduates as well. So I think from an overall perspective, organizations would pay for readily deployable skills, even at the fresher level.
So, Ramani, just wanted to understand from you what the overall trend is in terms of hiring in the sector right now. Are you seeing signs of a sharp slowdown, or is it just a moderation?
So over the last few quarters, we have seen the highest demand in 4+ years of experienced profiles. And now, especially from last 2 quarters, so we are seeing some sort of slowness in hiring across all levels, not just at entry level or mid or senior level, across all levels. And this has first started with IT services companies, and now even the product and captive companies, especially the Europe-based product companies, is where we are seeing a sharp drop in their hiring trends. So, however, to bridge the short-term gap between demand and supply, we have seen companies sorting to contract employees because, again, for them to increase their permanent employees when there is uncertainty in the market doesn't, work for them. So they are trying to variabilize the cost and also bridge this gap between demand and supply with the use of contract staffing. So this is something which we have seen across, again, services, products, and captive companies, wherein all these companies are increasing their numbers with contract staffing.
Ramani, but we've never heard something like this. I mean, at least as far as I can jog my memory in last 15, 20 years, that in middle of the year, IT companies say, look, we're going to be deferring the variable pay. And these are cash-rich companies. There is no problem with cash flow. There is no problem in terms of cash reserve. Then after deferring it, they come out in public and said, okay, there was nothing wrong. This is just a procedural delay. Now, procedural delay cannot happen with the top 4 IT companies who are cash-rich companies. How should we read in between lines?
Yes, as you rightly mentioned, this is the first time that we are also witnessing this kind of trend delay in variable pays from such large companies. But having said that, many of these companies have given multiple mid-year hikes and revisions in CTC structures to their employees. So usually they do it only once a year, and in exceptional cases, they would do one mid-year appraisal. So whereas last 2 years, they have gone through, many companies have gone through 2-3 cycles of wage corrections. So with that many changes in the systems and CTC structures, maybe it could be true that they are revisiting the process and taking more time on variable pay. And we believe that it's only a matter of, since, so this has happened only over last 1.5 years. This is only for once that has happened with these companies.
Sapnesh, given the fact that JP Morgan in their report has highlighted that companies have increased the fresher intake, the client acceptance of that seems to have been low. How big a challenge do you see this?
Yeah, I think, like I was trying to point out a little bit earlier, while increasing fresher intake helps balance the pyramid, especially for GSIs, it helps moderate the overall cost structure. I think it's the key is the skill of the fresh intake. Those who are able to put the freshers through a robust training program and ensure that they have deployable skills are actually able to balance the cost structure, and the customers don't really have a problem working with those folks because they appear to have the skills that are needed to get the job done. The question really is what percentage of your fresher intake has deployable skills? And those who have focused on ensuring that the deployable skills are available with a very large percentage of the fresh intake are able to address the customer issues quite reasonably.
All right, we'll let you go on that note. Thank you so much, Ramani, as well as Sapnesh, for taking time out and giving us an overall outlook on the IT sector, as well as the kind of trends that we've been seeing with respect to some of these companies holding back on the variable pay.